All right, Shalom. I want to start off as always by giving all praises and glory unto Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai Bahashim W'cha HaKodash. The one is unto the apostles, the elders, and the bishops of Great Millstone. I want to send much love into the brothers out there doing his work in truth and sincerity, and also want to send peace and blessings unto the believers of the hopeful elect. And in this morning's lesson, I wanted to do a response video unto this video here that was put up by Redacted here on YouTube. And as you can see, the title of their video reads, Israel is destroying itself by attacking Iran and millions could die. Colonel Douglas McGregor. So they're interviewing this Colonel Douglas McGregor guy, and he pretty much gives his 2 cents on the situation between the small hats and Iran. And pretty much his stance is that this could lead to a much deadlier war, to where Israel could be destroyed. Those small hats, that is, okay, because they are not Israelites, okay? I hate referring to them as Israel, okay? They're Edomites. They're Edomites, okay? And the Iranians, they are Elamites, right? In the scriptures, they're known as Persia, okay? But they're Elamites. And this tension between them, right, has been going on for some time now. And eventually, right, it's going to lead to a much deadlier war, okay, to where nuclear missiles will be shot off and the land of Israel will be decimated, right, by nuclear missiles, but also Babylon, the Great America, will be hit and destroyed by nuclear missiles. But the difference being is that the land of Israel will be restored. America will not be restored, okay? Because these small hats are going to draw in America into this war. There's nowhere around it. This is what news anchors are even saying themselves. Guys who are insiders, okay, they're saying that America pretty much can't escape this war. And so as the prophecy says, the least of the flock shall draw them out, and they're going to get America destroyed. But what we're seeing is a build up to the war of Armageddon, man. It's beautiful, all right, to see these things happening. If you're a believer, man, you should be amped up in the spirit. It's a lot going on right now, okay? It's a protest going on, you know. They have the No Kings protest, to where people are protesting Donald Trump and what he's doing, all right, with the military being paraded around today and celebrating America's 250th year, all right, as a military, you know, as a country, so to speak. And so a lot is happening, man. I'm going to get into this video, and Lord willing, this is edifying, all right? So here we go.
Douglas McGregor joins us now for our weighing in on all of this, to make sense of what's happening in the world as Iran has now fired back, struck targets. We knew that this was coming. It didn't take 2 months for that to happen. Like the last time, Iran waited 2 months before this attack. It was almost immediate. Colonel Douglas McGregor, great to see you. Thank you for jumping on with us today on this emergency broadcast. How are you?
Good.
What do you make of, first of all, maybe you can sort of paint a picture on exactly what happened here. How did this happen? And then what happens next?
Well, I don't know if you saw the tweet, or X as we call it right now, that I sent out. But yes, I think we need to understand that's essentially what's happened in a nutshell. First of all, President Trump, whether he admits to it or not, has made us a co-belligerent. He's essentially admitted by his actions and some of his words that we were in on this from the very beginning. And this is really disturbing, because from this point forward, I don't think anything we say, anything this government says, is going to be taken seriously by anyone in Moscow or Beijing or Tehran or Ankara or anywhere else. And that's the worst part, because clearly he helped to lull the Iranians into a false sense of security and set them up for this disastrous attack. So that's one thing. So the other thing is that short run, everybody's running around in Israel and declaring victory. Israel supporters, I should say, their paid agents in the United States are supporting or are, telling everybody how happy they are. But in truth, this looks an awful lot like an Iranian Pearl Harbor to me. And nobody here today remembers, I was born shortly afterwards in 1953, but the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, they sank some ships, and then they too celebrated and sailed home. It didn't work out very well for them. And I think the Israelis are in a similar position. The Japanese could have landed and seized those Hawaiian islands, and then it would be in hell for us to get them back. It would have taken at least 2 years. Who knows what might have happened? Fortunately, they didn't do that. The difference is that Israel cannot consolidate its victory over Iran. But they're assuming that they'll have help from us, that we will jump in with both feet and rescue them. In the meantime, the Iranians are firing all.
They will have help from you, okay? They will have help from you. America is an ally of you small hats, right? So to speak. And if something deadly happens to the small hats, if they get in a truly serious war, Babylon the Great is going to partake in that, okay? And not only Babylon the Great, but some European countries, okay? Like England and France, okay? They're going to take part in that. And what it's going to lead to is a global war, because Iran also is backed by powerful allies like Russia, okay, and China. Keep in mind, they are a part of the BRICS nations. Keep that in mind. The BRICS isn't just, nations getting together for financial reasons. No, it's military as well. Essentially, it's pretty much like, Eastern nations versus Western nations, right? If you look into the BRICS. Now we understand that Brazil is over here in the West, but you get what I'm saying. So this will lead to something deadly. America will jump in and help, and that's going to cost them their society, okay? It's going to cost them their country. And you Edomites are going to fall simultaneously, okay? Globally, you're going to fall, all of you. From Babylon the Great, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, okay, the EU nations, Russia, Turkey, all y'all. You're all going to fall. You're going to lose, okay? This is what the Bible tells us. So yes, Babylon will intervene. And it's going to cost them their country. Here we go.
All of their older missiles. And by older missiles, I mean old technology. And the old technology is being shot down, which is the goal. They want the Israelis to waste all of their inventory on these old missiles before they start using the really high-end, devastating material. So I think this is just the beginning. The other part.
And look at that, man. You got Persia shooting old inventory at the Iron Dome, and some of their old inventory broke through the Iron Dome, in which the Iron Dome had help from Babylon to shoot down some of those missiles, okay? America helped shoot down some of those missiles, man. And yet those old inventory missiles still penetrated and hit parts of the land of Israel. So when these Persians start to use newly high-level hypersonic missiles, man, what you think gonna happen to the land of Israel and to the small hats overall? It's gonna be wiped out. It only takes one nuclear missiles to pretty much destroy the land of Israel, man. In the state that it is right now, it takes one missile, and that place is finished. Okay, it's finished. Here we go.
Part of this is that we're now going to see the rest of the world sort of link arms around Iran. Because if you're sitting in Moscow or Beijing or Ankara or anywhere else, and you see what's happening to Iran, You say, well, look, if we don't stand by these people, inevitably we'll be next. We'll just be one more dead name on the list like Gaddafi. So I think all in all, this is a catastrophe for Israel. But in the meantime, it looks wonderful for Israel, or at least that's what their supporters and agents in the United States want everybody to think.
Now, I think that there will be people who say, look, you supported Trump and this is happening. What I would say to that is we were speaking out against the war machine that was the Democrats. And Trump was the only space between full-on war that the Democrats were not going to stop Israel from doing this. It might have happened 6 weeks ago if they were in power. But I do feel like this is a betrayal of Donald Trump. This is something that Tucker had said. It would be a major betrayal of his support.
Real quick, man. These people are foolish, okay? They're foolish and they're low level. To think that Donald Trump was going to go in and, bring peace between the small hats and Persia. To think that Donald Trump was going to stop the war between Russia and Ukraine. These people are super gullible. They believe lies, and they're low level, man. And ultimately, they don't understand prophecy. And this is the advantage that we have over the world. We understand prophecy. We understand what's going to happen eventually. They don't see that. And so they bought into the lies that Trump told them during his campaign. A lot of Edomites did. But now they're starting to see that, look, this guy lied to us. He betrayed us. Duh. You Edomites are known for lying and betraying one another. That's your legacy. That's your history. So we're not surprised by what Trump is doing. We knew exactly what Trump was going to do when he got into office. Matter of fact, even before Trump came into office, he was saying on Twitter, known as X today, he was saying that we should bomb Iran. So how in the hell y'all surprised? Here we go.
Orders. And so would Trump have played Bibi's game knowing that we trusted him?
Yes. He would not be in the White House today if it were not for wealthy billionaires that support Israel and support Bibi Netanyahu, who funded his campaign and put him into the White House. I think he knew from the beginning that once he saddled up with the likes of Miriam Adelson and a whole range of others that fall into that category, that he was going to have to do their bidding. Remember, he's been down this road before. In 2019, in June, we came close to doing something very stupid with Iran, and Donald Trump said no. He walked away from it. This was the global hawk that was shot down on the edge of the air defense zone in Iran. Well, he was still a free agent. I don't think he is anymore.
Salakia, got a phone call. Salakia, got a phone call. All right, Salakia, man, I had a call. But yeah, okay. Video, Salakia. Here we go. Take it back a little bit.
With Iran, and Donald Trump said no. He walked away from it. This was the global hawk that was shot down on the edge of the air defense zone in Iran. Well, he was still a free agent. I don't think he is anymore. I think he's entirely dependent on the lobby, as well as on the usual class of suspects. I mean, I'm tired of this Republican versus Democrat bit, Natalie. I just think it's a uniparty. We need to come to terms with the reality. We're not represented.
Yeah.
I mean, not to talk about our personal lives or anything, but it was, up late last night, very difficult time sleeping. Natalie having trouble sleeping. You're thinking about how is this going to affect the United States of America? I don't see in any way. Maybe you could explain to me how exactly any of this benefits the United States of America. I want to put up a slate here. I think, Philip, if we have this is a slate of all of these senators. Look at this. And members of Congress. All of these people, almost immediately, we stand with Israel. We stand with Israel. We're praying for Israel. Join me in praying for Israel. These are all members of Congress. Senator Katie Boyd, Representative Darrell Issa, every one of them, in lockstep, praising Israel, God's chosen people. Glenn Beck tweets, we're praying for Israel.
Yeah, all these people are are bought and paid for, okay? They're bought and paid for. They're here to push propaganda, all right? And then Glenn Beck with his punk ass talking about the small hats are God's chosen people. Nigga, shut your ass up. They're all bought and paid for, man. And Christianity is trash, okay? It's complete trash. Those are not God's chosen people, man. They're chosen for destruction. They're not chosen for salvation, okay? So they are chosen, but they ain't chosen for what you saying it is. They're chosen to be destroyed, okay? By the Heavenly Father, man. He's going to do it via his son, Yahushua. So all we're seeing, brothers and sisters, is the fulfillment of Scripture, okay? This is going to lead to a much deadlier war. It's known as a war of Armageddon. And look, brothers, we're at the doors, man, okay? To hell with the distractions, all right? To hell with the distractions, man. We are at the doors. Don't let this stuff catch you as a thief in the night. We're here. The only thing that we're pretty much waiting on is the MOTB. Once that thing manifests, bro, okay, once this digital system manifests, you can bet your bottom dollar, all right, that this war is going to increase to another level, and we're going to start seeing missiles fly. And then we're going to see Yahushua. And then we're going to be in the kingdom of heaven. It's going to go in that order, okay? It's going to go in that order. The MOTB going to come. Things going to speed up. Missiles going to fly. Yahushua the king going to show up. He going to gather the elect. We're going to be in the kingdom. And this going to happen soon, okay? You just stay patient, okay? This going to happen soon, man. Things are moving fast as hell, all right? So here we go.
On and on and on the list goes. So how is this going to affect the United States of America? Well, of course, looking towards tomorrow when we're hearing about there's Iranian sleeper cells. I'm just worried about false flag attacks. My wife is worried about young men being drafted into war to fight in this boondoggle of a war. What do you think we're going to see?
I think the first thing we do have to consider very carefully is that whenever you have these kinds of crises, there's almost an immediate alliance overnight between criminality, ideologues, terrorists, and corruption. They all tend to cooperate very effectively. Many years ago, people were shocked to discover that Islamist terrorists were cooperating with members of the IRA in order to achieve their aims. This is back in the 90s. Well, that's what you're going to see happen here in the United States. Remember, we've got probably 30 million people came into the United States under the last administration about whom we know absolutely nothing. We have no idea what they think, where they've come from. We don't even know where most of them are. You've heard Tulsi Gabbard make that statement publicly. And she's also pointed out that we see a lot of evidence in Mexico and in the United States that these groups of people that came in illegally are using tactics reminiscent of what we saw in the Middle East when we had troops on the ground in Iraq and Afghanistan. So I think we have to bet that we're going to see trouble. Just look at Los Angeles. Los Angeles has an estimated 1.2 million illegals in it. Now add to that particular fire the drug cartels, Islamist terrorists or Islamist sympathizers, and people who may just be disgruntled. You know, somebody who stands on the sidewalk and you hand him a $50 bill and said, by the way, here's a Molotov cocktail, go around a corner and throw it at the police. This is what we're dealing with at every level. We have nuclear power generation systems. We have power grids all over the country, you know, along with shopping malls. We have military installations in many states that are not really that secure, that are not heavily guarded. Anything is possible, and I see almost no good news on the horizon, and I do worry about the parade tomorrow. And I was in the Army for most of my adult life. I love the Army, and I'm glad that people are recognizing it's 250 years since the Army was first formed. But this does worry the hell out of me because nobody in that parade is interested in harming anyone. They are simply marching as part of the tribute to this 250-year history. But I don't know what's going to happen.
You know, if past his prologue, what will happen is that someone like me will pick up a book in 20 years and say, oh, that was all a lie. That's me reading Scott Horton's book and saying, gosh, but we have a voice that we didn't have before. I see now I am so mad watching Fox News saying, I'll share this with you. I was watching Peter Doocy. Peter Doocy said, I'm on the White House lawn. I will tell you this, that Trump has said many times that the war in Ukraine is not our war and the war in Gaza is not our war. And Hannity goes, bye, Peter, bye. Cut him off. Because there was this indication that maybe Trump doesn't want these wars, and they cut him off. And it's full on that this was justified. And so now we see no space between the leftist and the right media at all. It's a war to sell. But we have independent media. So is there any kind of a seed there that can make this different?
Well, I think you have chaos media. In other words, lots of different places, but they all tend to peddle the same narrative. I can turn on MSNBC and hear what you hear on Fox these days. I think you and people like you represent the alternative. What we don't have are big, powerful platforms that are adequately funded. Where are the billionaires that actually care about the country? We've got lots of billionaires who are hopelessly devoted to Israel and devoted to this idea that the world is a better place when we're bombing people everywhere. Those people are willing to spend their money to control the narrative and to disseminate what they want. We need people who are simply interested in the truth. We don't have what I would call authority media. You used to be able to turn on the television during the Vietnam War, and when Walter Cronkite came on in 1968, and he said, or 69, after the Tet Offensive, he said, it's time for us to get out of Vietnam. This isn't working. It doesn't make sense. People are dying pointlessly. It's time for the government to find a way out. Well, everybody believed him because he was truthful. We didn't expect him to lie to us about anything, and he didn't. What have we got now? Well, we've got you, Natalie, and we've got a lot of other good people, but we don't have the power behind you. Redacted needs more than, the sampling that you read.
And we're shadow banned on a lot of platforms.
And then we get, it's deeply disturbing. Colonel, because of your military expertise, I want to ask you now in Tel Aviv. So Glenn Greenwald moments ago posting this 2021 New York Times piece about the new IDF Supreme Command Post, which is in the heart of Tel Aviv. And they built this massive bunker system for the IDF, and they specifically built it beneath civilian buildings in Tel Aviv. They call it Fortress of Zion. And it was, of course, deliberately placed there to be, so it couldn't be attacked without seemingly hitting civilian sites. So what do you, where do you see Iran's targets? Are we going to see a lot of civilian infrastructure struck, mostly military targets? And then will Iran over 24 hours say, okay, we're done now. Let's let cooler heads prevail. Let's go back to the nuclear negotiating table. We see moments ago hypersonic missile attacks inside of Tel Aviv, and they can't stop it with this Iron Dome. So maybe you could just talk military, tactically and strategically here for Iran.
Well, Iran, first of all, has an almost inexhaustible supply of missiles, and they have alternative sources. They can not only build their own missiles, they can get additional components and warheads from other sources, whether those sources are North Korea, China, Russia, as I said before, potentially even Pakistan. And now the Turks are coming online and saying that they support Iran. And I'm sure that there are others. So I think there won't be a shortage of things for the Iranians to fight back with. The real question.
Right. Russia going to protect them, man. Now, look, let me get it real quick. Let me get Ezekiel 38. Because this is what we're going to see. Okay, we're going to see Russia get involved. And when Russia gets involved, okay, all bets are off. All bets are off once Gog gets involved. So real quick, Ezekiel 38:1, it says, and the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, thus said the Lord God, behold, I am against thee, O God, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. And I will turn thee back and put hooks in thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company of bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, okay? What is Persia? Iran, all right? Before 1935, Iran was still known as Persia, going back thousands of years, man. That was known as Persia for the longest until 1935, when the Shah of Persia went to the UN and he asked, for a name change pretty much. And it went from being Persia to Iran. So Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomar and all of his bands, and the house of Togomar, of the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with thee. So all of these armies, these nations, going to gather together, man, for battle. It says, be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. And that's what's going to happen, man. Russia is not going to allow Iran to be destroyed. Okay? Russia has personnel in Iran. Now, I'm not saying that Iran won't get hit by nuclear missiles. Okay? The small hats got nuclear missiles. Babylon the Great, they got nuclear submarines over there. So they can still get hit. They will get hit by nuclear missiles more than likely, right? But Russia is going to be a defense unto them, a guard for them, okay? If they shoot nuclear missiles, Russia going to make sure that those missiles, well, at least try to make sure that, that those missiles don't hit. But, man, by that time, bro, it's going to be chaos everywhere. All right, it's gonna be missiles flying everywhere, bro. Look, you're gonna see missiles fly from Babylon. Okay, you're gonna see nuclear missiles fly from Babylon, and you're gonna know right there and then that okay, it's time. There will be no game plan in that time. All right, these little missiles you see hidden in the background, little smoke here and there. Okay, you see the little small clouds. When a nuclear missile hit, that cloud gonna be 10 times bigger. 20 times bigger, okay? It's going to be crazy. And everything you see over here going to be on the ground, all right? It's going to be on the ground, man. This is where we're heading into, bro, and we should be elated that the Lord is doing this, man. Our captivity about to be over with, bro. You should be happy, okay? You should be happy, man. We finna get our land back, bro. Here we go.
Question now is, what do we do? And I think President Trump is already signaling that he'd like to go back to the negotiating table. The problem is that no one believes him. He's destroyed his credibility. I don't think anybody's going to show up to negotiate with him about anything. So I think this is going to go on, and it'll get worse the longer it lasts. And eventually you reach the nuclear threshold. That's what's always worried me, because as the Israelis become more and more desperate and realize just what a terrible position they are in, that's when they threaten the use of a nuclear weapon. Now, the danger, of course, is that by that time, others will have provided nuclear weapons for use against them. In other words, unless there is some sort of miraculous come-to-Jesus moment in Israel, and I don't think it's going to happen there, this is going to reach a climax, and the climax is not good for Israel. It's going to be disastrous for the Middle East, disastrous for the world. But it may be unavoidable now. The Israelis are operating.
It's going to be disastrous for the world because Yahweh Shai going to come back, man. Yes, it's going to be bad for y'all. It's going to be bad for everybody. Okay? Yahweh Shai going to come back, man. They're just focusing, on the war, and no, Yahweh Shai going to come back, boy. That's going to put true fear in you. Okay? Yeah, I mean, they ain't prepared for that at all. All right? They're not prepared for that at all, man. Here we go.
Operating on a degree of self-congratulation, self-importance, self-love that you can't even begin to imagine. And you just pointed out a good example of where their thinking lies. If they're going to be defeated, then I think their attitude is, we'll pull the plug on everybody and kill everything. And that's a catastrophe too.
I don't know what to say about that.
Well, I'm just projecting to the future right now. I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
But
sure. They're afraid, man. These people are terrified. Look at them. They're terrified. Look at him. Look at my boy, man. Clayton. They're terrified, bro. They thought Donald Trump was going to go in and, bring peace between Persia and them goddamn small hats. It's not happening. And so they said earlier in this video that they feel, betrayed by Trump because they bought into his damn rhetoric and his lies. Look at the war that's happening still between Russia and Ukraine. Donald Trump said that he will end that war in 24 hours. He said, I'll get Zelensky on the phone, I'll get Putin on the phone, and I'll end that war in 24 hours. But that ain't happening. That war's still happening. Russia's still bombing the hell out of Ukraine. Ukrainians are dying, all right, by the thousands. These are facts. This war not going to stop, man. It's only going to get worse, okay? It's only going to get worse. And now Iran is responding right away, shooting missiles right away, hitting targets in Israel right away with old inventory missiles, man. This is beautiful, bro. But yeah, bro, they out of there. Okay, they confused. They niggas confused and scared. What's going to happen? What she say? I don't know what to say to that. Hey, fucking bitch. Here we go.
I don't know what to say about that.
Well, I'm just projecting to the future right now. I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
But the Iranians, contrary to popular belief, whatever mistakes they've made, and I don't think they've made very many. I mean, everybody says, well, they should have given up enrichment. Not really. That's a sovereign right. And enriching uranium for purposes other than military is totally legitimate. Lots of countries have it. Lots of countries do it. The Indians and the Pakistanis both have nuclear weapons. They're too smart to use those things against each other. So in a sort of perverse kind of way, there's been a mutual balance of terror there that has helped to preserve some degree of peace. The problem we have right now in the region is you've got one country that has nuclear weapons. They want to maintain that monopoly, and they're willing to do anything against anyone to keep it. And that's where we are. And we, unfortunately, have encouraged it and underwritten it. Now, could this affect us here at home? Could people become so frustrated with us that ultimately they just attack us as well? I think we're going to see that in the region. It could actually spread to Europe because we have military installations there that the Iranians and others in the Middle East could attack. But it could also happen to us here in the United States. Remember, the southern border, Mexico, is America's soft underbelly. In other words, it's the place you go for strategic advantage against us, because it forces us to fight on multiple fronts. We're not prepared for that in Mexico, but it could happen.
Yeah.
Militarily, I mean, did you guys prepare for when someone would hit nuclear facilities? So we now have confirmation from the Iranian side. Well, the Israeli side, of course, told us that Natanz nuclear facility in Iran was destroyed. Iran is now saying there is radiological disbursement, and they're trying to contain it. So radiation is now escaping from this, and I don't know how many other facilities. What are we talking about here, Colonel? I mean,
well, you could
nuclear fallout across.
That will also bleed into Qatar, which has been trying to mediate our peace talks, which was supposedly an ally.
Well, Natanz, of course, is a facility that was not very deeply dug in. It's also a smaller facility. That doesn't mean it's any less disturbing what you're describing. And Iranians are talking about evacuating up to 1 million people to get them away from the Natanz facility. I don't see any evidence that the Israelis care at all about that. In fact, they may be celebrating it. And that's part of the
in fact, the Zionist line is we love the Iranian people. We're only against the regime. We want to free you, in fact, from life with cancer.
Yeah, right. Well, I wouldn't place too much value on that statement. I don't think the Israelis care at all. In fact, their real goal has always been the destruction of the Iranian state, because they equate the Iranian state with their existential threat. That to them, that's the ultimate threat. And I was over there in 2020, and I told them that I didn't agree with that I thought of all the various Muslim states they were dealing with, the Iranians were the most amenable to negotiations. But I think the Iranians have taken a position, either you do what we say or you have to die. Now they're facing the Turks. And the Turks, in my judgment, are infinitely more dangerous in the long run to Israel than the Iranians ever were, because the Iranians aren't going to invade anybody. The Iranians don't want to project power anywhere. The Iranians aren't building bases around the world. The Turks, on the other hand, they can project power. They have the largest army in NATO, and overnight they can mobilize over 1 million troops and put them into the field, and they are within striking distance of Israel. And when you get that close to Israel, can you use a nuclear weapon right on your border against the Turks? I don't think so, because then you put your own population in the position where the Iranians are now with Natanz. I just don't think the Israelis have thought this through carefully, for all their self-love and claim of intellectual superiority or supremacy, and they are very intelligent, skilled, and talented people. I don't think they've thought it all through. I think the danger now is greater than it's ever been. I don't see how you end this without fundamentally destroying Israel. That's the biggest and the dumbest aspect of this whole thing, that the Israeli state itself stands an excellent chance of not surviving this.
Right. They won't survive it. That's what the Bible tells us. They will not survive it, man. And so their actions are in line with Scripture, right? Looking at it objectively, like Colonel Douglas is saying, yes, it's crazy what they're doing, because they're provoking a global war, a much deadlier war, man. But biblically looking, them small hats are on point. I'm loving what they're doing. Keep doing it, man. Keep shooting missiles into Iran. Keep doing it, okay? Keep doing it, man. Because eventually, all right, eventually, man, it's going to go left. It's really going to go left, all right? And Yahweh Shai going to show up, bro. This all I'm waiting on, man. Okay, the day Yahweh Shai show up, man. Oh my goodness, bro. Oh my goodness, bro. I'm telling you, bro. I can't fucking wait, bro. Get this shit over with, man. For real, dog. Get this. Let's go, bro. But yeah, they're gonna be destroyed. Okay, and we get our land back, man. We're gonna finally get our land back, bro. Okay, I can't wait to get some land and have an inheritance, man. All right, I can't freaking wait, bro, to celebrate. To enjoy the kingdom. Okay, that's what we're gonna do. Enjoy the kingdom, man. So I'm gonna stop it right there, man. Ain't too much more, to be said. Just keep your eyes on stuff, man. Keep your eyes on prophecy. These devils gonna get themselves destroyed. Babylon gonna get destroyed, okay? Because they're gonna intervene. So, Lord, we know that if I'm gonna get up out of here. All praise Yahweh Shalom.